Good morning, members. We are back from recess. It's 10:08 a.m. and we're here in continuation with our agenda. And before us, we have the Department of Public Safety, and before us also is the Resident Director Head, uh, R.D. Villagomez, and we are still in quorum. I believe some members will be walking in a little bit later. And with that, thank you, RD, for making yourself present today. And is anyone from the mayor's office going to be here? Is the chief here? Or will be walking in lately? Okay, okay. Uh, the mayor, I did see the mayor outside. So with that, I'll yield to you, RD, and you can present your um, opening statement before the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning and welcome to Tinian, distinguished member of this committee. My name is Eugenio Rizama Villagomez, and I am the resident department head for Tinian DPS. With all due respect, with the submission of the governor's budget, the department has very critical issue with the submission of this budget. Uh, I'll do this by itemizing the sections that DPS has, uh, running from least to most critical areas. And yes, there is one area where we have a revolving fund, and that's under the motor vehicle. This revolving fund is 1505T, which supplements all their needs for printing, for pictures, for vehicle registration, copying machine, Xerox, everything. The last time I looked into their funding was approximately 8,000. Not with there's some other payments that are out and it's not accumulated into that yet. So exact amount is undetermined at this time, but I know for a fact that last time was 2 weeks ago when I looked into it. It was $8,000, and that's the only uh, section that has this revolving fund. Going through, let me just go through the department submissions. The patrol section, we have limited manpower. As you can see, we have about 13 vacancies for the entire department. That vacancy is already announced, and we are waiting for hopefully for the academy that is presumably coming up in August. We have opened up the positions, but we are going through WIA first so that we don't restructure the positions to cadet and restructure it back to PO1s, so that the transition for the applicants is going to be smooth from WIA to PO1, and that's it. Currently, we have 20, 23 personnel, including myself, two police sergeant vacant, which is one already filled, one is awaiting processing for announcement. Police officer 2, 1, police officer 1, 10, and one admin specialist. Our patrol section right now is combined with boating safety, detective, traffic, to accommodate the shortage of manpower and to mitigate the overtime spent. So it's all in one section now, combined. Uh, As far as vehicles, we have about 10 patrol cars. Three of those are down, not in service. Five unmarked, one traffic marked vehicle. But these vehicles are hand downs from the Central in Saipan. So when we receive them, their mileage are very high, like in the 80s, 90s. So with zero zero funding from the governor's budget, we tend to cannibalize these other three that are not functioning and try to keep the others functioning. But most of them they're very old. I mean, we haven't had a new vehicle here for approximately 15 years. Uh, it seems that there's no funding for it. Uh, as far as our fuel, I have like what you say in tomorrow, Make, no, patrol car. They don't run on full tank. I just give them like 5 gallons every day just to minimize expense. As far as the other sections, like boating safety has a boat, two vehicles. Uh, Central government has given us jet ski, uh, ATV. We're very grateful. They're very helpful in giving us this equipment for us to operate and serve the people here in Tinian in case of emergency. But even with that, the fuel is limited. Whenever the boat goes out, it takes a lot of chunks from our fuel budget. With that, I separated the budget for patrol on fuel and boating safety just to mitigate the consumption from both ends. So they have their own fuel rations, so-called rations for their equipment. At the present time, there's two boating safety officers, which is incorporated into the patrol due to the lack of manpower, as I mentioned before. Uh, the boat that we have, uh, suffice to say, it's operable, but it's not for rescue. It's a very risky boat, and we just make do what we can with that boat. Some other agency have more better boating equipment or boats that they do only patrol within the ports and within the reefs. But as far as long range, as you might know, Tinian is in the middle of Saipan and Rhoda. And whenever Rhoda needs help, we already have established that 30 miles and 30 miles is the boundary. And if they fall into their range and the water is bad, then we have to go down and help them out. And that boat is not feasible. It's very, it's, I mean, if you try riding in one of those boats, you're going to say, Nana, I'm going to drown because you're drowning. Every time that boat hits the water, you're going to be splashed. We did have a Zodiac before, uh, but it's broken down, and I don't know where they got this boat. I wasn't a director at that time when they they gave us this boat, but I'm concerned about this because it's very uh, dangerous for rescuers. Another concern is our travel. As you may know, the finance came out with that 15 days policy for travel requests. But sometimes the courts, when they need, our investigators to go up and testify, they give us like 5 days notice or less, and we don't have that no option to with the finance. So I tend to lean on Mr. Mayor here for expenses. Uh, I do understand the budget constraints, but jeopardizing the people's safety and also with this zero budget, I mean, I cannot understand how this thing's going to work. As far as repairs, maintenance is concerned, same thing. Uh, every time we cut like a PO or through the munis, it get it gets kicked back, and most of the time it's out of pocket for me to get the parts, to get the vehicles or whatever up and running again. You know, just to satisfy the amount of vehicles that can be used to respond to whatever emergency needed. As you may know, the Black Micros bringing in a lot of H2 workers, and the divert airfield, the military personnel. Uh, the concern over there is also communications. There's a lot of blackouts on the north side, whereas our radio cannot function. Once you hit the airport and you go beyond that, everything shuts down. It has to be open range, so radio to radio to radio back to us. We've been working. The mayor's been working with the military to install a repeater up in Mount Lasu, and they agree, but we don't have funding for that. Even our radios right now, it's safe to say that it's almost the same as RODA through telephone. If there's no service for radio, we do personal telephones, and the officers use their telephones to contact, the main office if needed. Uh, there's a lot that we need at DPS, but the submission from the governor, they're all zero. If you want me to reiterate what I put on the submission, or if you want to do question and answer, then I'm fine with that.
Um, Thank you, RD. Is that your
Yes.
yes? Okay. So before I open the uh, question up to the members, the 13 positions that are vacant. Um, when we had our budget hearing with DPS informed the committee that they will not be doing any police cycle this year. And I think he made it clear that all the vacant positions in Saipan will not be filled. So with that said, your positions that are vacant are being announced. How is that going to affect the hiring when DPS, the commissioner, has mentioned to this committee that they will not be conducting a academy? Thank you.
The last time I spoke to the commissioner for DPS, he assured me that it was August. I wasn't aware that it was pushed, but we just sent out the opening until filled for the positions of
Right.
police officer one until filled. So I didn't know that they canceled the academy.
No, he didn't cancel. He just informed the committee during our meeting because they had a lot of vacant positions. So his response is they will not be filled. So the question now to the municipality of Tinian is uh, how would that affect the operation that these positions will not likely be filled for a while because they won't be conducting any academy as far as we know this year.
The only answer to that, Mr. Chairman, is I'm going to continue the merging shifts with everybody else to mitigate the overtime. But as you know, we cannot control the overtime
Right.
with this, especially during uh, we have these festivals coming up and like typhoons and all those stuff. Uh, it's unavoidable that this department cannot no or say no restrict the overtime because of the lack of manpower. Where we can pull in shifts that are off if such a calamity happens, and we just have to go and do the overtime and get it from the vacancies for payment.
With not filling the vacants, what how many shifts right now is
We have four.
four shifts? Okay, and that includes everybody, traffic, boating, or this is just for patrol.
No, everybody's merged to accommodate the shifts
So they
right now.
become one unit basically.
Yes.
Okay, doing multi
For
task.
some personnel, like the people that are assigned to the investigation or boating safety, if an investigation comes in for follow up, then they do that during their their shift. And if boating safety are needed, there's two boating safety officers. They are spread within the shift, so uh, they can respond to that during their shift, or I can respond to that and
Re-
help out.
Thank you. And with regards to the recent, um, I guess, human trafficking to Guam, did your department respond to that? Uh,
We weren't notified if they are.
they're trying to, I believe they tried to enter Guam, and in our last budget hearing in Rhoda, they were able to respond.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing that's holding us back, like I said, is we understand that we have only one vendor for gas. Our gas is 690 right now per gallon.
So your department didn't
The
respond
department
to,
didn't respond to
okay,
that. We weren't notified.
but
If
you were no,
notified, we would
okay,
respond to
okay.
that.
So it's only Rhoda that was notified.
Yes.
Okay. And okay, let me open it up to the members.
Sure.
I'll recognize now Representative Sablon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, RD.
Morning, sir.
My first line of questions would be on the vacancies. I'm really curious about the huge number of vacancies. There's about 13. Uh, what is the reason as a result of this vacancy? Are police officers resigning for better pastures, or this vacancy has been these positions were vacant for how long?
Uh, those vacancies are several of them are reallocating to the states. Some of them for uh, medical reasons, and some of them are just like they've been in the position so long without uh, promotions, or some of them are like 10 years in and they're not, you know, promoted due to
Mhm.
the budget. So
Yeah, thank you for that response because that leads me now to my next question. Out of this 13 vacancy, I see that there's two police sergeant position. And looking at the pay scale, they're as equal as the police officer one. Is there a reason why?
I think that's a typographical
So
error.
that's a typographical
Yes.
error. Okay, let me take a
Usually
note of that.
the sergeant starts at 29,000.
Typo.
Yeah.
Okay, and then looking at your worksheet here from OMB, I see that there are several positions of sergeants, several positions of police officer one, police officer two, and three. I don't see any lieutenant position and captain. And normally on law enforcement, you try as much as have to have a captain to run the morning shift and another captain to run the night shift. Is there a reason why there is no lieutenant position and captain? I mean, one of the reasons why also I would like to inquire is that we need to allow the uh, the lower end positions to progress up as we move forward. We,
That would also be a typographical error because
okay,
we have two captains and
so
we have one
typo
lieutenant
again.
vacancy.
Okay,
At the
wow.
present, two captains.
Okay, and two lieutenant, you said?
No, one,
Just one
but it's
lieutenant.
not filled.
Okay. Um, is there any ARPA funds available in your department at the
No,
moment? No. Were there ARPA funds,
there was.
and what was it used for?
We mainly use it for before for salary, the 80/20.
Okay.
Then uh, I tried reprogramming ARPA funds to purchase uh, like four-wheelers for the special events that we have and the 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 patrol to the back of the north of the island where the cars are inaccessible, and revamp the armory. But apparently it didn't go through. It was taken away.
Okay. Thank you for that response. Earlier, you mentioned there was one revolving funds, 1505T. Is that the only revolving funds you have
Yes,
in DPS?
that's under the motor vehicle.
Motor vehicle. And these revolving funds are flexible to purchase office supplies. Is it as flexible to purchase fuel too?
For motor
On,
vehicle only use.
for the section of motor vehicle,
Yes,
office supplies, and
office supply.
but you cannot use this in the operation of the DPS.
No.
You should. Okay, so clarified. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You for now.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any further? Representative Fogel?
Thank you for your time this morning and welcome to the budget hearing. I just wanted to get some information. Right now, DPS have one rescue boat, which is the Zodiac, is that correct?
No,
Oh.
it's a hurricane.
Oh, hurricane. And how big is that?
27.
27. And if, for example, there's a distress call and, the boating departments dispatch out for rescue, how many can they put in that boat?
Normally, we put three people,
And
and it depends on the type of rescue that is called in. We also, if it's a long term, like long ways, we ask the EMS to have one of their EMS people right along,
in
just
your
in case.
okay, in your opinion, let's say a 22 to 24 footer vessel or rescue boat, can 11 individuals or passengers fit in on that boat
22.
on a 22 to 24 footer?
Depends what kind of vessel it
Let's
is.
say, for example, dispatch for human trafficking.
Uh, Safety reason and depends on the water conditions. No, we just have to ask the central government in Saipan to
For
help us
assistance.
out.
Okay. The reason why I brought that question up is because just last night or yesterday, Rhoda Boating Safety was dispatched for illegal human trafficking, and they were able to rescue 11 of those illegal immigrants. And it took them a long time. I'm assuming they probably had to make several trips out or something because the boat is, too small or something like that. But I see your sentiment as far as the concern, regarding, the necessary,
Yes.
vessel to be deployed out, to rescue.
I
Uh,
believe the reason why they did that is because their engines are small. I think their engine is only a 115.
yes.
So the heavier the load, the more slow they go. Our
Mhm.
boat is a 150 horsepower
Right.
twin.
Yeah. And it is very concerning because, you know, uh, unfortunately, the Coast Guard wasn't able to, come to their,
I was
yes,
contacted
yeah,
last night about that,
mhm,
and that's a long ways down to Rhoda.
yes,
And if we do respond to that, I'll have my people just stay overnight in Rhoda because it's dangerous for them
mhm,
to travel by night.
right. And then also I see that, for Rhoda's side, at
Yes.
least, there are about almost 10 also that are planning to possibly resign, for maybe better, pasture or
Yes,
other,
ma'am.
reasons.
It, it
And with
always
the
boils
shortage, yeah,
it always boils down to the
mhm,
safety of the responding officers,
yes. Mhm.
because uh, why go out if you're gonna be in trouble yourself?
Right,
You know.
exactly. Safety of not just
Yes,
the
the
rescue
rescuee, but the
and the
rescuer.
rescuers. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Ayub.
Thank you, Representative Ogo. Representative Castro.
So to clarify, the boat that was mentioned for DPS Rhoda, it's a Hurricane 27 footer boat, right?
It's the same as Tinian.
Oh, Rhoda has that. Also a Hurricane, and it's a open bow,
Yes, walk around.
which is not really meant for open ocean.
No, sir.
And
Uh,
I can see why you feel like you're gonna sink, because that's usually for inside the lagoon. How did the department purchase this type of boats, especially?
I really don't know.
Okay, I think that's RD. That's a really good justification. I hope that you put in that in your budget request, and
Uh,
maybe put a picture of the boat.
I've talked to the commissioner about
Okay.
this because I feel, because I'm a fisherman, I'm a boulder, and I know. Uh, so there's no place to park out there or tie off when you go to rescue. And usually rescue doesn't happen on a calm day.
Yeah.
Usually happens on a rough day or nighttime.
Yeah. I would never think of DPS to have a boat like that for rescue. It looks more personal than
Yes.
yeah. So I can see your concern about sinking. It's very frustrating. So hopefully the government can look into that, and maybe we can identify some solution soon. The other question I wanted to ask is, there are several positions here within DPS Rhoda that are higher than the RD's salary, your salary. I mean, sorry. Um, in same thing in but what is the reason for this, where the head of the department has a lower salary than several members within the department?
I believe at that at the time they were using the ARPA funds to subsidize that.
Okay.
Because all I know is it's supposed to be across the board, the salary for RDH.
Thank you. Chair, you.
Thank you, Representative Castro. Representative or uh, Leader Sadiqalas, then Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just, I think,
a little bit of clarification on the salary differences between the RDH and members of the or employee of the Department of Public Safety. I think, Director, if I'm not mistaken, this one is for the director salaries. It reached the cap, right? It reached the cap, and not the not the civil service employee. Civil service employee can be promotion raised. Just to clarify this, because I think that the department, I mean the RDH salary is already reached the cap, no? Right? But some member, I mean some employees of DPS are higher than your salaries, though. This one is civil service system, I mean, civil service employee. So this one doesn't have any cap until, That's right. right? Right.
Thank you for that clarification. Are you?
Thank you, Leader. Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, RJ. Good afternoon, Mayor. Appreciate last night's hosting. My question is, I'm just curious as to the police academy cycle. Are you guys in constant communication with the commissioner? Because I do recall attending that budget hearing in Saipan where Commissioner Bermudez had mentioned that they are not planning to pursue a police academy in the next fiscal year. So I'm curious, have you been in communication with him? Because that's kind of surprising that.
Yes, I have. In fact, just I I think a week and a half ago,
Was that mentioned about
I asked him, and he said August.
August? That's
When was the hearing held? May I ask?
we were actually I recall that just that's like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and budget hearing a month ago, something like that. But he did clearly state to the committee that that was not within their plans to fill those vacancies and pursue the academy the next cycle. So just, I mean, if there was some communication, that's good to know.
I've been almost every week we get in contact, but that's good to know. So if I leave on Thursday, I'll directly go to him and ask him, because we are in dire need of personnel here in Kenya.
Yeah, I did. You made mention that you guys would have to continue the learning shifts and
Yes.
overtime would be unavoidable. And we completely understand that you're in that situation. But I am curious, so whenever a cycle or whenever you need sworn officers put into the field, you guys are pretty much at the mercy of Franklin, right? Whether or not they pursue an academy for law enforcement training. That's normally the case?
Yes, we're just waiting for them because they're the bulk of the. They give us slots to fill in.
So Tinian cannot conduct their own academy?
We could, but the funding again is not there. We did one here via on Tinian, and but to do just that here, we don't have the funding for it.
So, but these 13 vacancies are currently funded on a vacant position?
Yes. I just hope that it's not unfunded prior to the academy.
We'll make that recommendation to our chairman to maybe do a follow-up with the commissioner when we get back. But, thank you for that update. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Representative Samba.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Sorry, RD, I was just looking on my notes. You mentioned earlier that you're having issues with communications and there's a lot of dead zones here when your officers respond. Have you reached out to Homeland Security? I'm sure they can assist with all this radio reception. Have you ever reached out to Mr. Franklin about for assistance? I'm not too sure if Homeland Security has antennas here on.
No, they don't.
You don't?
To answer your questions, Saipan is using UHF
Okay,
frequency and we're using VHF.
and they're not compatible.
We're not compatible.
Okay,
And if we're gonna do that, it's gonna cost a lot of money to switch over and change the repeaters and whatnot.
so are there any plans to progress on communications with their department?
As stated before, we have, uh, with the mayor, talked to the military, and they're willing to let us erect a repeater for VHF at Mount Lasu, which is the highest point in the north, so that we can get ranges from audited spots there
And is that at the cost of the municipality or at the cost of the military?
at the cost of the municipality.
How much is that?
We haven't got,
You haven't done assessed whether, okay, thank you for the clarification. Now you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Salon, Representative Castro, then Flores.
So the reason for Tinian using VHF, is it more for marine purposes, like so that it can cover? What's the
no, there's a different frequency for marine. It's also VHF, but it's, we're using the frequency. I think it's, the UHF is ultra high, and the other one is down
low?
low.
Okay. I'm just asking because I just wanted to find out what was the logic. There's got to be good logic for Tinian and Saipan to have different systems or frequencies.
Before they were using the VHF and they changed over to UHF.
Okay. All right. The other question I have, or maybe more of a statement, is regarding the academy.
Yes, sir.
So having worked at the college for several years, most of the costs, I think, with the academy, it's actually from the cadets themselves. So for example, they would come in and we would enroll them, and then they would get the CNMI scholarship. For Tinian, it will be Tinian Municipal, and then FAFSA. So they qualify for all of that. So bulk of the cost is really, it's almost free. It almost pays for itself. So yeah. So in case if there's ever a need, I'm sure you're gonna have to work with the commissioner, but there might be a possibility of Tinian having its own academy through NMC Tinian, and they just fly the instructor over. Something I'm sure Miss Maria Ogun can assist with. But again, that's other opportunities as well. I think that's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Castro. Representative Flores.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director. You mentioned earlier, how many shifts do you have in your
Four.
department? 4 shifts. So that's about, you have 20 personnel now, right? Or 9, including you.
23.
So that's about 5 per shift.
Yes.
So your structure of your shift, how does your shift structure in the daily shift?
We do it 12 hours.
12 hours?
Yes.
So the command in every shift, is there a
There's 2
captain?
sergeants, 1 PO3. Then you have the lieutenant, the captain, because at this time there's no lieutenant.
So that's every for the first shift. There's 2 lieutenants, or you?
No, sergeants and PO3.
So since you have, this is just maybe like a suggestion, since it's very unique on your side, because there's 13 applicants, and the applicants, the previous officers that you lost, is they actually resigned because they weren't never being promoted or been raised up the salary.
It's one of the reasons.
Yeah, so what's if in looking at this case with 13 with 20 now, for instance, that there might be no police academy for the next year, what will be the common number that will you be satisfied to work to have now presently to get an additional manpower? Let's say you're gonna get five. Would that be suitable for you to have five now and wait until next year the police academy to open?
If there is
Okay.
5 applicants,
So
and for cadets, we can start opening that just.
okay. So the question is now. Next question is this: the 13 that you the for application you are advertising them as a police cadet or police officer or how?
There are two sergeants. One is being filled right now. Uh, One police officer two, 10 police officer one.
So
We can restructure the police officer
Right.
one for cadet, and they can start helping out with the radio and answering calls.
I think that's where I'm alluding to.
Yes.
So it's if you can maybe work with OPM and start reconstructing because there's a lot of the officers, like you said, they're 10-year service, 12-year
Yes.
service. We were a police officer. We were there too.
Yeah.
We tried. We never got promoted to 15 years later, and it's very hard now with this economy that's going on. It's at least it's if you can work it so you can maybe use that funding. There's 13. You can maybe eliminate 5 out of that and promote the officers so they can have a better day for them to say, hey, I'm worth working here. I'm not gonna try to resign. And then that will be basically entice others officers that are resigned recently. Maybe there's some officers in Saipan are waiting for a salary that for them to come because back home to Saipan too, there's officers that resign because it's the pay scale. So if you really restructure your scale, it may be more enticing for them to move here because you got room to put it because you got 20, you got 13. If you can work and really restructure that, and have a structure with I don't remember back when we first came, it was an assistant chief, captain, lieutenant, sergeant, 1, 2, and 3. If you restructure that in your shift, if you have 4 shift, that will justify you to put everybody up rather than keep waiting for a new officer. Somebody that there has been went through the academy and just waiting for the opportunity to get a police sergeant for the base salary. Still, maybe when you entice the salary, okay, I'm gonna go to Tinian because it's there. Maybe the officer in Saipan, this police officer 3, wants to move here, but we look at the position, so it's less than what is earning back. But if you entice it more with your salary, with your structure, they're gonna move up here, and you're gonna get that manpower. You don't have to worry about the academy because they went to the academy. That's another option. Yeah. That was
Thank you,
something-
Congressman Flores. I can do that all day, but with the memo of the governor that came out, no promotion, no high, what's called it, uh, up to a higher pay level, it's not gonna happen. We tried it once and they denied it. From PO1 to PO2, and so we can do that all we want, but it's all up to OMB and stuff like that. They approve with the OMB, the personnel, and we got rejected from the governor.
But maybe
I've thought of that,
Yeah.
and with the recent memo that's no WGI, no promotion, our hands are tied.
but maybe you can it's try it one time. We'll see because it's got something. Because like I said earlier,
We did already.
you're funded issue, but this could maybe continue.
Yeah.
We try.
We did that already,
Okay.
and it didn't went through.
Another one regarding your vehicle. You said 15 years already. You haven't got any vehicle.
Yes, not new ones. I was gonna invite you to go and look at the vehicle after the sessions that were done and just take a look at it and see.
So okay. Well, what is your maybe your citation numbers per month or citation traffic citation issue citations?
Yes, we do issue citations, but limited.
Do you have any number like numbers of how many per month that you
Probably per
Officers.
month, we did like 54 to in the range of 30 and 54,
50 or 30?
30 to 50 area in that area.
That's a citation, right? So do you ever like by the way, there's a traffic section in Saipan? Do you really offer you guys the vehicle? Because coinciding with you guys to do citations.
Only one traffic vehicles that they send down here.
That's brand new.
Yeah, and it's geared to picking up the cones, the signs, and all those stuff.
Do they use it as an enforcement
It's
issue or just for?
we sometimes use it for enforcement, but sometimes they call and tell us that that's not for enforcement.
So maybe we need to
So we
go
use
back
our
and
local vehicles for traffic officers to
take
go
that
out.
card. Okay. So with this im- things that are improving the motor carrier program, max up.
The motor carrier, we request them on a need basis to Tinian. We don't have a certified
Nothing.
motor carrier officer here.
Maybe we can come up with an MOU so we can have an officer train here because remember we have somebody trainer so they can use that fund so they
Yes,
can give you guys a vehicle.
understood, sir. But Saipan at this time is they don't have train the trainer, and with the current budget, zero out on travel, we cannot send out uh, personnel for to be trained.
It's something to look at in the future.
Yes,
Are you?
we're trying to. I'm trying to look into every avenue possible, but every time we do this, it get kicks back. You know.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good morning again, Chairman and members. So when I first got into office, I knew that the first big problem that DPS had was two things. One, the morale problem, and second is the way the structure of management. There was a deep hole in between the director and coming down. You only back then you only had a director and a sergeant, and there was a hole created in between where you don't have a captain, you don't have assistant chief, you don't have a captain, you don't have a lieutenant. So what we've been trying and been um, trying to work with OPM is to restructure some of these positions and push the structure up and then have the vacancy on the bottom. Because at the same time, some of these officers, like you said, uh, resigned because of greener pastures. Here are the court, the ports, and other law enforcement agencies, and some of them left island. But if we push up, and then and these are you may say 5, 10 years. So they're not new, but their salary they get stuck on that salary until recently, about last year when they gave them a request that's been made for 3 years, and they've been lingering between OMB and OPM, and they finally got it. But at the same time, they were already on their way out. We wanted to push everything up and then try and bring back those that left that just went out with PO1 but had 10 years. And then, the salaries should be higher than what it was when they left. For the few, I do know that even from the existing commissioner and the previous commissioner, they've made commitment to BSU. I know that when BSU goes up to Saipan, they get refueling because it's cheaper to buy it in Saipan than here. And that's kind of like an arrangement between BSU, Central Saipan, and here. In regards to the academy, yes, we've done the academy previously. We've sponsored through NMC and DPS. Uh, it kind of like we ended sour, no, because there was an O between the municipality and the college, but it went okay. We paid it off through barter system, you may say, and then I was still interested. I mean, 13 positions is a lot. 10 man academy or 10 personnel certified under the police academy coming down to this community is a big impact, no? And sure, we'll seek guidance from Auntie Maria at NMC, and let's see how we can do these things. Because I think, like you said, with all the partners that you can put together, I think it would be almost like zero to pay for the academy. Uh, for the motor carrier, I've sat down with Jerry, who's in charge for uh, what Maxup, and they've been coming down. And lately, if you uh, a lot of constructions is happening on Tinian, and a lot of this heavy equipment require the services and the inspection of motor carrier. I have brought up the issue of putting people on the grounds uh, to be here on Tinian. Because it may, they are looking into it and they're trying to do reach out to NITSA and send some of our staff here to be certified. We have between um, last month we had over 300 shippings, uh, containers and equipments and all these things and that came through Tinian. Uh, and and when we looked at the inventory of what they brought in, a lot of these are equipments that are being used at the divert. At the same token, some of these services, other than divert, they are ongoing construction. We have a lot of constructions that are out here uh, that recently came to Tinian and need to be upgraded annually. We need to prepare for tourism in terms of buses, vans, and all these things. But we did reach out to them. Hopefully, they'll be getting back to us to certify uh, possibly two of our staff from DPS to go on that training. And I remember back in the days, it was I had two staff under me, and I was person in charge for traffic, and I remember they always had two getting certified. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Rodon. Any further? Just some. Okay, I'll recognize you, Rep Ogo. Go ahead.
Um, Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious because I'm working on a bill. I'm drafting a bill, so I just wanted to quickly just get an answer from your department. Uh, you said there's a lot of heavy equipment been, brought in, right, for constructions and all
That's right.
that, military and private businesses. When those equipment come in, let's say maybe not a brand new one, but maybe a used one, do they register here for, do they register those equipments here?
Yes.
We do.
If it's coming from CNMI, you don't need to register, but if
Yes,
it's
of
coming
course.
from Guam, you have 30 days to register. As far as the military, no, they're
Okay.
not required.
All right, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Ogo. Are the under the volume two on the federal funds, I do notice that Tinian has, I guess, grants. Are you aware that there's available funds for either fuel or vehicle under the National Traffic Safety Administration? I'm not sure if you're familiar with those grants, but it is posted in volume two, so that's something that you might want to look at
That's
carefully.
for traffic,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, and you say this, your division has is basically multitasking under and have traffic. So is that grant allowed here in, because it's not
The
being used right now. The amounts that I'm seeing hasn't been used yet.
No, I'm not familiar with that grant.
Okay. Well, it's under, the volume two of the budget. OMB posted out grants, and it separates Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda, and that's something that you might want to look at or have the chief look at, so that we can access these grants here. I do see fuel, but I'm not sure how the grant's written. Is it strictly for traffic only? But since we are doing other or multitasking your officers, would this be allowed? So this is something that needs to be clarified with the grants office. It also covers overtime. It covers travel. Most importantly, it covers fuel, and that's something that you might want to look into.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Saipan is controlling that grant, and yes, they do uh, give traffic the traffic vehicle that fuel. So we have to give them the receipt every time they gas the traffic vehicle,
Yeah.
and they send on their payments for.
And this includes vehicle. There's a budget here for 130,000 for vehicles for traffic. So that's something that you might want to look at. Unless I'm reading this wrong or the grant is written a certain way, there is funding and it specifically highlights Tinian. So that and Rhoda. So for that matter, so that's something that you want to look at. There's even funding for travel, but it's not that much. But I'm assuming Inner
I
Island
have
would
to look
cover.
into that with the highway safety
Yeah, the
manager.
guidelines. So we don't know. It just posted here, and we're not too sure what it used for. They didn't explain how can this be used, but obviously OMB will not post this, and I believe they're gonna force every department to use the grants now, and maybe that's one of the strategic or the administration's
Yes.
gonna do now is use the grants as much as possible. Um, and that's what I have. Any other um, questions from the members? Representative Nicholas, are you okay on there? Peace? Peace out or? So yeah, if you can get back to me and have the chief look at it,
Yes.
that way we can find out what's going on. And because a lot of these are not really clear, they grants all over the place, but we don't know
Yes,
what we could
yes.
use it for, and that's what we're trying to find out what's going on with all this funding availability and why it's not being used. Um, and okay, let me recognize Rep Sablan before we wrap it up.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you, Mr. Chairman. RD, I know that you mentioned that there's a lot of typo. I don't know why that this worksheet is actually coming from OMB, but you mentioned that you have two captains,
Yes.
and just so that I can mark them out, who are these captains?
Captain Eloy Fitio
That's one.
and Barbara Aren,
Okay. And then you said there's one lieutenant.
vacant.
Oh, vacant.
Yes.
Where is that vacancy? That's not part, you're not talking about the 13 vacancy, right? So this lieutenant just recently opened the
Yes.
position? Just recently resigned
Yes.
or,
No resign. They haven't been filled. No
oh,
fill.
haven't been filled? Okay.
It's
So
lingering.
okay, so I can see that you have an assistant chief, police various, and two captains that we just marked and one vacant.
There's
Okay.
no assistant chief. That is showing there when
Yeah.
it
I
was
see,
transferred to
Villa-
Tinian, then I transferred back to Saipan. Looking at
So
the
this assistant chief under Villa Gomez is not part of your department?
no.
Wow.
Chairman,
Can you clarify, Mr.
Congressman
Mayor?
Sablan, that was the request of the incoming commission, not the OMB and the incoming commissioner was to, no, not the incoming commissioner, it was acting commissioner Gomoro that requested if we can return back the assistant chief because these are, I believe, are all under ARPA, if I'm not mistaken, and they wanted to make sure that the the message that's being conveyed out was the incoming administrations was to try and figure out about what's going on with the ARPA. So all of these positions and even positions that were in Saipan were recalled.
So is this the only one that is recalled from the Tinian Department of Public Safety, the
Yes.
assistant chief? This is the only one that's recalled.
Now for the lieutenant, that was I believe we restructured
Okay, to
restructured the
reclassify it?
position, well, to create that position because we're trying to make the
So
flow.
you're reclassifying and you're restructuring a lieutenant position to create this assistant chief?
No, 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 no.
What is it?
To create the lieutenant position.
To create the lieutenant position?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
within the ranks, okay. So clarified, thank you. I just wanted to update my, I don't know why that there's different with what you're seeing there and what we're seeing here.
I
Thank you.
have that, sir. The same one.
Yeah.
That's why I was marking it off. That
Right.
these figures are incorrect
Okay,
on the salary.
thank you for the clarification. Are you the, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any further? With that, thank you, RD. We did note down the priorities you mentioned with regards to the vacants. If these ones are not going to be filled or there's no academy, we'll leave it the way it is so that you guys are more flexible with whatever you want to do with the positions. No, so there's at least some flexibility, and then we'll clarify with the commissioner if it's actually going to move forward. And with that, Hardy, thank you. If you have any closing remarks, you may do so. Otherwise, we will recess for the next.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just one more thing. Speaking of enticing the employees and whatnot, like before when we were working, me, the mayor, and Congressman Flores, uh, we had this like 15% night differential pay, which also is a booster to the uh, to the people that are working during scheduled during the night shift or irregular hours. And also, we did try to revamp for the hazardous pay whenever the boating safety goes out. Uh, but it was, you know, taken away. That would be an enticement too, and a great help for the officers. I mean, if the line crew can get hazardous pay in their bucket, why not the boating safety when they go out during the night and like feel, they don't see, they feel, they operate the boat and feel, they don't, it's not like daytime where you can see the waves rolling over, they feel it. uh, that would be a great help to the officers, like I said, the night differential. But before, even 20% standby they were paying them for the investigators. uh, uh, and that's that's 20% out of your salary, 15% out of your salary for night differential, and you know irregular hours. But I still would like for you guys to come over and look over our vehicles and see for yourself, uh, you know, their condition that they are in right now. Uh, and thank you for you for coming down here and uh, hearing us out, and hope that there's a positive outcome after this hearing. Once again, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Director. And with that, I'll take a short recess. We'll resume back here in 10 minutes. Good morning, members. We are back. Um, we have before us Resident Director De La Cruz, and I didn't get your name, sir. Assistant Chief, thank you. And with that, Director, I'll yield to you to make your opening statements.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Honorable Committee members. We hope that you all are in good health and continue to be so. Our mission here at Defense is to protect the lives, property, and environment of all those who call the beautiful Sinamay home. Tinian Defense has been facing many challenges, more so this fiscal year, and I am sure it will continue through the next fiscal year. The greatest challenge that we have faced and continue to face is adequate funding. Funding for the maintenance of our ambulance and fire truck so that they are in operable condition to respond to a vehicle accident or a house fire safely. Funding to ensure that our apparatuses have fuel to respond to the emergencies. We need funding for communication so that we can coordinate our response to the emergencies. We need adequate funding to pay our utilities so that our fire station may be proper home base to prepare for emergencies and house our equipment. We need adequate operational supplies so that our firefighters do not collapse from dehydration in the middle of a structure fire. We need adequate funding to ensure that we provide food to our responders during extended operations. We need adequate funding for personnel training so that we can provide the best possible care to the sick or injured. We need enough funding so that our deserving personnel get their WGIs so that they do not feel like robots and unappreciated. Last but not least, we kindly request this honorable committee to include our department's budget request of 54,000 for overtime to ensure that our firefighters get compensated and have incentive to come in and work during emergencies. You may have noticed that all the above statements are a reflection of the counts that have been zeroed on the governor's proposal. Mr. Chairman, committee members, we are not asking for extravagance, just enough to protect lives and properly safely. I would like to end with a quote from Peter Drucker that says, if you think training is expensive, consider ignorance. Thank you.
Thank you, RD. And before I open it up to the members, I do notice there is a discrepancy between the pay here and the island of Rhoda. And I do understand that it's the public laws that bars them from the differences. But I did notice the assistant chief is big difference between Rhoda and Tinian. Is there a reason? Assistant chief fire. Rhoda, the average is what, 67,000 for their salary, and your assistant chief here is not close to that. So is there a reason? Is it the laws that prohibits? And we're trying to see make sure that there's equal, between the two islands and even as in Saipan. But I did notice the difference.
Okay. The difference there is just on the time in service. So when I promoted my personnel, it was just from it was based on time of service
Right.
through OPM.
Yeah, because that's the grade is public law 19.5 in Rhoda's 19.6. So I'm not familiar with the laws. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I just noticed off the bat the difference. I looked at it, and that's something that stood out. And I will clarify that with your representative as how do we address that. With regards to equipment, the fire trucks, I mean, can I get I guess a description of what is in inventory here in the island?
Okay, our assets right now consist of one brush truck that's a 300-gallon capacity. And we have a one pumper truck, 1,005 gallon capacity, and one ambulance.
Thank you for that. With regards to overtime, you did request um, overtime. Right now, is there the last fiscal year it wasn't posted, but 2002 overtime was only at 4,000. So, uh, how much overtime are you requesting?
54,000, sir. Part of my justification for 54,000 is just not only for cover downs when people call in sick or for emergency calls. It's also, like I said, if you think training is expensive, consider ignorance. Uh, in the fire department, we always have to keep training our personnel. We have to keep refreshing ourselves. Knock on wood, we don't have a lot of runs here, but saying that, it's like we're just being complacent here. So instead of just sitting down on our butts and stuff waiting for a call to happen, we have to call in everybody to do a refresher course.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I did notice that the submission was from the revised budget is lower by 135,000
Yes.
from the current. So um, I did note that. And with that, members, I'll open it up now to the floor. Representative Sablan.
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon, RD and Assistant Chief Fire. Um, so you have some vacancies here, as we see. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 firefighter one, and one administrative officer two, and one administrative assistant. Are these vacancies in the process already of being filled?
Yes, they are. For the three positions for firefighter one and two firefighter. Yeah, the three positions are closed and waiting eligibility list from OPM, and the two positions, the RFPA en route for examination announcement request. For the administrative officer, the candidate eligible for promotion, but documents were returned by Department of Finance as per the governor's directive. And the administrative officer one applicant withdrew, so we requested to have it re-announced.
Okay, so as we look at your worksheet, so there's only one administrative officer currently working, handling all administrative work.
Yes, she's
Um,
overwhelmed.
And I could imagine it's overwhelmed. And that's why you have vacancies for administrative officer too. And you mentioned that that was rejected by the administration to fill.
Yes, because that administrative officer too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it was considered a promotion.
Okay. All right. My next question is, how many revolving funds do you have here in your department?
We have two revolving funds, the fire code 3563B. We have current 11,000, and the ambulance fee 1954 with 22,000.
22K. Okay. And how flexible are these revolving funds? Like, for instance, the ambulance, what are the restrictions and what the use can be used, this 22K?
So with both accounts, where it's flexible, we can use them. So with the ambulance fee, we strictly use it just for medical supplies.
Okay.
Yes, gas, refilling of oxygen bottles, and
Okay.
all medical supplies. Same as the fire code, we get whatever FSI needs for to go out to do inspections and stuff. Office supplies and whatnot, and we also use these for fuel.
Okay. And how old is, my last question, how old is this ambulance, one ambulance that you have?
Since 2018.
2018.
Okay.
Right after. Okay. Thank you for your response. I yield for now, Mr.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any further? Representative Julie Ogle.
Thank you. Defense, for your time again. You say you only have one ambulance, right? What if that ambulance fell and then you have an emergency? What's your backup?
That's what keeps me up at night. Is we only have one ambulance. I'm working with Saipan Defense right now to acquire a backup system.
Mhm.
So for now, we have implemented we call it a sprint vehicle. So if our vehicle goes down, we have our truck that will be retrofitted with what is in the ambulance also.
Okay, and you're currently working with Defense, your central
Yes.
office, on providing another
Yeah,
ambulance.
so one of my, we're heading up to Saipan on the 27th to meet with the acting commissioner, and that's on my bucket list
Okay,
to
duly
request
noted.
under, hopefully under CDBG grant.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Julie. Any further? Okay. With regards to federal funds and communication with Saipan, are you aware of the unlike DPS, it specifically states what island gets what in DFEMS. It doesn't. It's lumped all together with Saipan. So just so that you're aware, to communicate with Saipan to see how we can avail, especially with fuel. I did notice you request for a vehicle. That's something that we can look at. Um, as far as let me see, the special funds, there is balance. There's over $500,000 in balance, but it doesn't say uh, who can get what. I think it's all lumped together, and the bulk of the amount is basically under all other expenses. No, so I'm not too sure how the grant is written and how it can be used for. But that's something that that might help the island. Um, our concern here, at least for we want everybody to be equal, especially with pay and since speaking with morale, each island should be the same. We shouldn't bar the just because you're well, at least with the firefighter ones, you get those step raises. But if you are a assistant fire chief, or then you should be able to get that same pay no matter where do you go. Because if someone quits, then what? They're not gonna fill the position because it's too low. You get more opportunities if everything is equal. And I did notice the difference, and I'm guessing it's the grade and the years you put in. No, so that's something that stood out real fast when I looked at and I compare both islands. um and how would you do with the morale, knowing the fact that it's like that right now? I mean, how do you explain to the firefighter? No one wants to be firefighter. They want to be in Rhoda or in Tinian, I mean, in Saipan.
Yeah, that's very true. To climb up the ladder without that pay that comes with it, they rather stay at that low rank because they know that overtime is always going to be there for them.
Right. Any further members? I want to say that just like with DPS, at least with the two islands, knowing the fact that there won't be academies, uh, uh, that will leave the vacants here, so that we'll try to make it as flexible as possible, so that you can, I guess, use some for uh, your expenses. But yes, the ambulance is very important. We need that here. We also need funds because if someone is sick here, I mean, who pays for the service? Is it the mayors that takes care of that when someone is sick that needs to go to Saipan? I mean, how is that done here?
I believe that goes through the central government under the medical referral uh, program.
But under an emergency, for example, someone falls off the ladder, who pays for the expense? Is it still medical referral? Is that under emergency?
Um, it all depends on what kind of is it a medical or a trauma call. Then the physician here will determine if the patient needs to be transferred to Saipan for more care.
Okay. Yeah, it's sad, no, if you knowing the fact that we're just only how many miles away, but
Yeah.
it's hard to send someone off, and that's just my concern. And I actually feel for the island. Every time I look at the mirror,
Hopefully one day our clinic will have a trauma room and an operating room so
Yeah.
that anything, especially during bad weather,
yes.
we can assist with opening up a patient and doing what we need to do.
And a boating vessel, do you have one here?
I've been trying.
Okay.
I've been trying to get a boat for defense. I went through the port security grant, but apparently FEMA changed the requirements.
Okay.
So it has to deal with cybersecurity.
Okay.
So I'm looking at other avenues on with the Coast Guard also to see if there's any decommissioned vessels that they can donate over here to Tinian.
Okay. Okay.
Um, that is one of the most important asset that defense here in Tinian should have because the population is growing here and a lot of people like to go to the beach. We have a lot of young guns out there that like to go spearfishing. They don't have anybody that's experienced with them, so sometimes we get calls and we don't have a boat.
Right. Yeah, and especially Aguigan, right?
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot of accidents that occur there, and
yeah, and to wait for Saipan to respond to that call, that's the golden rule does not exist anymore.
right. Thank you for that. Let me recognize Representative Castro.
So Artie, I just wanted to ask that given that there's no operating room and most of the most of the patients would have to fly to Saipan, and if it's bad weather, what would be the alternative currently?
Then we turn over to the Navy, right, for
Maybe
assistance. And again, even working with the Navy, that takes another
Hours.
4 hours or more to go up the chain and get approved.
I know it was a while back, but I remember like in the early 90s, there was a hovercraft between Saipan and Tinian. And, the thing about the hovercraft, it's very stable. Do you remember that?
Right, that was the
Vessel?
Flying Angel. Yeah,
It didn't? Okay. Just thinking maybe if there's for bad weather, there can be some kind of vessel, like a boat, justification for a boat or hovercraft or whatever would be the best, like a marine ambulance that can
yeah.
pull up.
I actually found one already, but like I said, port security does not want to approve it because we have to be doing cybersecurity also. But we did find a boat that can fit 2 liters in it, 2 patients. It has its own cabin, but it's still a dream.
Right? It's the amount of people that come out here for fishing, especially in these waters. I think there's good justification
Yeah.
for that. So I'm hoping maybe we can work together, some kind of legislation to make this a reality.
Poker fees.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Castro. Any further? Representative Julie?
Actually, this question was I was supposed to ask with the previous department, which is DPS. Does DPS or defense have a Zodiac uh, boat?
They did have a Zodiac at one time, but they switched over to that Hurricane that was mentioned earlier.
And where's that Zodiac boat right now at? And is it functional?
Congresswoman Ugu, so when DPS Central decided to purchase the two boats, the Hurricanes for Tinian and Rhoda, I believe both boats that were back then were recalled and was given back to BSU Central. And by my request, I asked Commissioner Robert at that time if I can have the Zodiac. And I was surprising to see that when my request was granted, but then the whole entire um functionings of the Zodiac was taken out, like the engines, the the blue lights, the horns, the devices on the panel, they were all taken out. So it was just a pontoon and a rubber that they gave over. So then I took that and I decided to give that to Fish and Wildlife. You know that Zodiac is parked uh, at a repair shop in Saipan. I think it's at Roland Johnson. We have the money. We put together a money within the municipality and Fish and Wildlife to finish that uh, boat and have it running for Fish and Wildlife. But at the same time, um, just thinking of about a year ago. This was about a year and a half ago since we moved this thing, and it's been hold up. Um my plan was to put that thing together and have customs, DPS, and uh, one of them guys on board to do a patrol. Like you said, 27 illegal immigrants.
Mhm.
We shouldn't be catching them in Rhoda. We should be catching them on site on Tinian,
Yes,
between Tinian and
Yeah.
Rhoda, because that you have that
right.
vast open water, no? Like
Mhm.
39 miles, 30 miles.
Yep.
So you would know if this person is who
Passing by.
pass who
Mhm.
goes down there with 12, 15 people. It's only commerce that goes through this water
Yep.
regularly, like Sicilio, GPPC, teenage,
Ernest.
the carriers,
Mhm.
not boats that have 12, 20 people on board. So that's what my intent is, to rebuild and give it to Fish and Wildlife, but at the same time, create a task force to have them be on patrol.
Utilize that too.
And some of this funding are in particular for the field was supposed to come from a different source that we're working out also. Um, that's
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ayu.
Thank you, Representative Ogo. Any further? Uh, I recognize the mayor.
Chairman, fire is if you go to their station right now, fire station 7, 6, it's I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's 28 feet by 40, by 40, 14 by 28. That's the fire station that accommodates up to 23 staff, and you have a kitchen, a restroom, an office, and a bunker where they sleep. all in that small space. The reason I'm saying this because in the last proposal, uh, we had already put together between our CIP and some OPA funds that was for the municipality to build the fire station. This fire station has been the long time dream of every single fireman that serve uh, in the municipality. We have managed to get and secured a property and did it over to the municipality to build that fire station. Now we have a problem. ARPA is not in the picture. So then we're left with almost only a half of what is needed to build this fire station. And I mind you that we're not building an extravagant fire station. All we're doing is just taking one fire station, like in Kakman and in up in San Roque or Tanapak. Basically, that's it, and build this thing up there. Because we want them to have their own space. 'Cause right now, you have DPS and fire sharing the compound. So a lot of the spaces, especially for equipments, is very critical. We have $1 million equipment parked there. Sometimes we have to park it outside because we have smaller, more needed to be under the canopy or protected from outside weather. Um, I ask you if there is not maybe on this budget, but if ways and means down the line during other deliberations identify source of funding that could support our mission to build a fire station for the Tinian fire department for defense. I seek your guidance and help in assisting us in that. As you know, a lot of our fundings have been obligated through CIP. Our CIP is in very minimal. We get about a million one every year. That's our share, and all of those went to even for future funding. It went to some of the roadways and water that is going to be pushed out to our homesteads that are, uh, I believe, at the end of the month will be having a lottery. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Mayor. Um, any further? Being there's none, thank you, RD De La Cruz and Assistant Chief. Um, I did note same for the island of Rola, the importance of the boats, either through the waters, and that's something that needs to be addressed. Um, you know, we don't want to be on the spotlight again in our national, in the U.S. for uh, or these things going on in our water. So this is something that the committee is really looking at least with the two islands, and also with the budget cuts um, here in the CNMI, and that affects everybody. So we're going to try to address as much as possible. We're going to try to be creative, especially with the limited funds we have, and try to address the critical needs here as well as in Rhoda. Um, and I think that's very important. I don't think any one of the members disagree. So we'll do our best. And with that, RD, if you have any closing remark, you may do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Um, Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing up the firehouse. I was going to bring that up, but he did a good job. All right, all of you guys over to our firehouse, take a tour and see how we operate. At the same time, I have a presentation to do for one of my staff for the firefighter of the year. So we have some food prepared and stuff. So you guys are welcome to come over, take a look at our submarine. Yeah, I call it a sub. I want to say more, but I don't think I should.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, RD. And with that, we will recess until 1:30. And last on our agenda will be DPW. So with that, we'll recess until 1:30. Thank you.